come to banquet night, as we're coming into the banquet, this, what kind of car do you have? Model T. They kept putting us way to the back of the room on this big banquet table. Pretty soon, the majority of the people that was at the banquet was in the old car area, but way down there, the people that were up here on, doing the introducing and everything were all the people from the North Shore. We continued talking across the table, shaking hands, nodding heads, come up with stories, and every so often the people up at the banquet table would have to knock on something for us to quiet down, because we were all enthused about each other, rather than the 50 or 60 people that were up at the head of the banquet there. And pretty soon everybody kept saying, well, how come we don't have a club of our own? How come we don't have a club of our own? Well, nobody stepped forward and held up their hand like all good club members do when somebody in the organization says, we need help to do this or that. So that evening, when the banquet was over with, everybody disappeared except the people with the Model Ts and some of the Chevy people. Some of the people that had the small cars just like us stayed right there. 1 o'clock comes and the guy says, you got to get out of here. You got to get out of here because we're closing up. Here it was 1 o'clock in the morning. We're still sitting talking old cars. And very few of these people got up and left. Going out, down the steps, and that was the Nicholas Hotel, where our Secretary of State had all the money hidden in his closet. That's the hotel that we had the banquet in. And then, as we're coming down the stairs, everybody was saying, well, what about that club? What about this club? So Jack and I decided to start taking names and addresses. So on the way down the steps, it was a big, long string of steps. It was already 2:30 in the morning, and we were going to leave already at 6 o'clock and come back to Chicago. So on the way back, at wherever you come to a crossroad, there had to be 3, 4, 5 old cars standing, talking to one another. And we stopped the car, get out, pick up another 6, 7 names and addresses, and all the way to Chicago, we wound up with a cigar box full of names and addresses. About a week or so later, Jack and I, he worked for Packard on LaSalle, and after he closed and I closed, we would go out to get a few cool ones, and we kept talking about this club. What do you think about it? What do you think about it? Do you think there should be a club for us? He says, yeah, why not? So lo and behold, his office girls printed out on a mimeograph machine a bunch of penny postcards with the name and address and where we were going to hold this meeting in. And it happened to be the first meeting on Milwaukee Avenue in Armitage in Angie Valenti's Nickelodeon. He had about 50 antique music boxes in there, but he had it was a banquet hall too at the same time. So going through the discussion, we sent out 128 postcards, and everybody answered the postcard, come to that meeting, talked about it. And when the meeting broke up that night, and it took a long time because being that it was a banquet hall with all these music boxes in there, everybody was playing them boxes, and the cool ones were just around the corner. So we decided that after we had all these names, there was 84 that actually signed up on the postcard that we had sent out. So we had these postcards with the same addresses and everything on them. We sent out another batch of postcards that we were going to have a meeting at my farm. And lo and behold, most of them showed up for that meeting. And that took off like gangbusters. Just everywhere. People were telling people that about this old car get-together. And lo and behold, it took place in 1947 to 1950 before we decided that we were going to charter with the state, and that's when the club started. But it started in 1947 up until about 1950, and I believe 53 is when we chartered with the state. So the club has a lot of history long before the dedicated people that we have today in the club that really hold it up. See, there's usually 4 poles that hold the tent up, but this club must have 150 poles that hold this club up. And there are a lot of people out there that could grab one of them poles and help along the way. Saying, thank you again for coming to this meeting. I would like to say, on the way home, keep your throttle half lever, just so you can enjoy touring the country.